festivals will take place in Hull and Wakefield over the same weekend. So what a weekend that will be in a couple of weekends' time for demonstrating the inclusion shown in our great sport.
Absolutely. I would have preferred to finish on that story. However, we have to finish on another story, I'm afraid. And finally, the RFL is to investigate claims that Leeds prop Mikolaj Alečky was racially abused by a Warrington supporter. Alečky informed match referee Chris Kendall that he had been abused after the Wire's fourth try in their 27-26 win at Headingley on Sunday. The 22-year-old England international was born in Poland. And EFC 78JU got in touch on this one, said, "I'm disgusted in my club that one fan was being racist. After sending the message out that a lot of the supporters has done it, he needs to be banned for the club." The club only sent out a statement today. There's no room for racism in rugby league or any other sport. Can't really argue with any of that, particularly. But yeah, obviously.
No, yeah. Hopefully the perpetrator or perpetrators are identified and dealt with, because we need to demonstrate that, you know, when it comes to discrimination, we're looking to tackle it.
Absolutely.
Thanks EFC for being the only person who got fan views in on most of the news stories, and one that's not even a news story, so stop talking about Tom Lynham. And then the guys who got in touch as well around the big news, of course, the World Cup deferral, postponement, whatever you might call it. So look out for the Google form for those views. Go to the superleaguepod.com blog and you'll see a link to that there. Shout out, of course, to BBC Sport Rugby League page, totalrl.com, loverugbyleague.com for being fantastic rugby league reporters, so that we get to talk about our opinions and, most importantly, really have a go at the NRL and Featherstone Rovers.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's move into some match reviews. Right, match reviews, round 17 of Super League, almost a full round, very exciting. I must admit, the sort of last three games slip a bit off my radar, but we'll see how we get on. The first two, definitely aware of, and we start with the first of those Sunday games. It was Wigan versus Leigh. Scott Mikalauskas was the referee. The crowd announced that Wigan was over 9,000, but I haven't written down the actual figure. But it was 28-6 to Wigan at half-time. It finished 50 points to 6. Wigan adapting to the 12-a-side game more than Leigh did. In terms of the stats, over 800 more metres, made it 2 metres per carry better average gain for 11 breaks to 1, that should say. And going the other way, a big 8.1% better team tackle success rate. I mean, it was dominant for Wigan. Leigh were under 1,000 metres and below 90% tackle success rate, and you know, they were shit. Wigan were good, they weren't. Individually, Jackson Hastings with a try, 2 try assists, 5 tackle busts, 216 metres. Harry Smith with 3 try assists, 170 metres, 3 clean breaks. Amila Hanley with 3 tries, 150 metres and 2 clean breaks. And Jake Bibby with 6 tackle busts and 152 metres. For the losing Leigh side, Jordan Thompson went both ways for them, 40 tackles and 100 metres for him. Liam Hood played quite a long spell with Matty Wilde's injury, and he grabbed a try and 41 tackles. Of course, the disciplinary were busy.
I was going to say, was there any disciplinary coming out of this one by any chance?
Well, Jack Ashworth came on the pitch, had a fight, went off, and he's picked up a grade C punch in 2-match penalty notice. So, yeah, his league career is starting well. Brad Singleton, grade C punching. He got a 3-match penalty notice. He's recently had a ban, hasn't he, earlier this season. So that's why he'll have copped the full 3 for the grade C. Ollie Partington, grade C punching, 2-match penalty notice. And Rob Butler of Leigh, grade C punching, 2-match penalty notice. I mean, I think Partington was just defending whoever Rob Butler came in like absolutely windmilling. he didn't care who he was hitting. Willie Ice got a caution for raising the knee in the tackle as well. They couldn't pick anything else out of the 34-man brawl that was actually anyone throwing punches. Maybe a few other people took some and got involved and tried to separate things out, but Ashworth, Singleton, Partington, and Butler all on the naughty list.
Guilty as charged. Well, what I found really funny about the brawl was that, like, Partington was fighting against his natural instinct, so he didn't throw a punch straight away.
Yeah.
For like maybe 2 seconds, and then suddenly he's then his natural instincts took over, and he started piling in.
I kind of think he didn't have a choice at the point where he got involved, because
he always has it. You've always got a choice.
I didn't see any other way Rob Butler was getting stopped, because all the peacemakers were busy dealing with Ashworth and Singleton, and Rob Butler just came in and started swinging arms everywhere. So someone had to sit him down.
Well, Partington certainly tried to do that, but yeah, it doesn't. I've got to say, the names on the list didn't exactly surprise me before I'd seen the highlights. Let's put it that way. We all know what Jack Ashworth has got that in his game.
Yeah, Rob Butler, I didn't know. I'd not seen this sort of thing from him before. Certainly, Ashworth's got it in his game, and rumour has it off the pitch as well. So, I think having Ashworth and Partington on the list isn't a shock, is it?
And then he said Singleton's already done it this year, so...
Yeah. Well, it was a headbutt, I think, but...
that's all right, then.
It comes under the striking bracket, doesn't it, like punching does, when it comes to how they look at the offences at the disciplinary. Do you know what? Well, I mean, we might as well talk about it now, whilst we're talking about it. It was still one of the highlight moments of this game, though. On the basis of, when was the last time you saw a real, proper fight? And this was a proper fight. There was blood spilled. There was punches landed. You know, I don't think the Olympics boxing's been as brutal as that was.
I mean, it has been a while since I've seen a charge sheet that long for punching, and as you said, it was a big melee, to say the least. I don't know. I feel kind of. It's just so not part of the game anymore. It feels so out of context nowadays. It's just a weird thing to say. So I don't know. I could do without it, frankly.
Every now and again, a bit of biff. As long as it's between the big lads on the big lads, then I kind of don't worry about it as much. We did get some fan views in, though. Yes.
So Jen K says, really good spectacle at the DW. Maybe she's talking about that as well. Great performance from the youngsters. Lee, very poor. I remembered Mark's recent comments about what a great kicker Smith was at youth level. Certainly showed that today. No complaints about Singleton's red card. You can't throw punches like that and expect to stay on the pitch.
Oh yeah, they were red cards, but
no, there was never. I mean, they obviously Partington is fortunate in the fact that they couldn't identify clearly that he'd been throwing punches, because you'd expected all four of them potentially to be off, frankly.
Yeah. Watching it back, you can certainly see why Partington and Butler maybe could have expected yellow cards. I mean, maybe it's not the instigators. They might have got away with it. It's not red cards, but I just think there was so much to sort out from that initial, which was clear because it was anyway. It was. Matt Speakman said, very good performance from Wigan, and in particular Harry Smith, who showed how good he can be behind a dominant pack. Promising signs if the two new props are decent. Could have been more than 50 had Lee had a sim bin for the drag back of the Golden God. He means the Ginger Pearl. But he made up for it by scoring moments later anyway. The Pearl has one of the best engines in the league. He's always there or thereabouts.
And White Pie says, well, the Battle of the Borough saw a bit of everything. Abusive chanting from the lobbies, a Hanley hat-trick, not seen one of those in Wigan for a good few years, and some biff that would have graced the Olympics. Harry Smith and Jacko ran the show with the majority of the tries on the golden edge, 2 of which were for Mark's man crush. The highlight of the game was the biff started with some niggle from Ashworth. I saw Singo swinging a belting right cross. Everyone piled in, and Ollie P might have had a week or two off after a flurry of punches. In the end, Singo and Athwish saw red. In other news, Mark proved to be the oracle as Harry nailed his first conversion from the touchline and then proceeded to hit 7 from 9. Main downside is probably losing Tommy Luluai for the Friday too, but such is this mad season. All in all, Lee were poor, but Wigan were much more clinical than midweek versus Wire. The Wigan players not selected were sat just in front of me, and their highlight was taking the piss out of Singo after he came out after having a shower.
Yeah, well, Harry Smith's had a few mentions there. Star player, I think Harry Smith was great. I thought he needed a rest. It turns out that he just needed to play against Lee and play against 12 men. I mean, we had 12 men too, obviously, but it just helped him. And his goal kicking, he was 7 out of 9 in the game. He didn't have a single easy one. I think maybe the easiest one he had was 10 metres in from touch. But he was kicking them from both sides. It was much more reassuring to see from a Wigan fan perspective. KPP keeps impressing. His offloads that have been a bit quieter lately, they were back, and I think he's so much improved in defence. He put on some really good one-on-one shots. Bateman was back, and I think a week maybe ahead of schedule, but he looked really like he was ready to re-find his old form. In his stint that he came off the bench, he actually played at loose forward just because of where the players needed to be, I guess. With what happened, he came on. I think when after Luluai had gone off, Shorrocks had to go to half back. Anyway, yeah, bit of a mix up, but worked out pretty well. Tommy Luluai, have you seen his try? I mean,
yes.
I haven't seen Tommy make a break for like 2 years, but running one in from 30 metres out, what I would say is I thought the turnstiles were still out of use at Wigan, but Jamie Ellis just thought he needed to put one back in play. So, because he was awful. But if that turns out to be Tommy's last moment, because I think he's down for more than just Friday's game, Lee, I think he's down for maybe the season if it's as bad as feared with his hamstring injury. If that's the last moment in a Wigan shirt for him, it's a pretty high moment for him to go out on, running one in from 30 metres. The Farrell try on the hooter at the end of the first half, that was a great try. This is where Matt was talking about his engine, because Harry Smith had made a break, but it was kind of unexpected, the break. I don't think it was like seconds to go. The hooter went and then he hit the gap. But Faz turned up out of nowhere to support him and get in and score. Sam Halsall got his first Super League try. I think I'm going to keep mentioning Sam Halsall after, he lost his dad recently at quite a young age, and he's really impressing me with his performances. His try was simple enough; it was put on a plate, but and he was only called up really late in the warm up as well, with Oliver Gildart pulling out just at the start of the warm up. He had to do a bit more for his assist on the Hastings try. That was good play. Hanley's hat trick. Let's mention that. I mean, most of the work was done by other people. The hat-trick try was great play from young Harry Smith again. This time it was a kick after his break in the midfield. And the Shorrocks try too, which was great work from Smith after the Amir Burra break. And all I'm talking about pretty much there, other than, the Ginger Pearl, is young players for Wigan who've come through the system and are performing on the pitch. And KPP, I guess, who we've brought in from London and polished off to, the finishing school there. But yeah. That's that one covered.
Yeah. Wigan appeared to be, capable Leah shit. That's all there is to say about that one.
Yeah, but Wigan's attack needed the extra space of having fewer people on the pitch. Let's not pretend that we've fully turned a corner yet. But it was great to see Harry Smith getting some form back.
If you get Singleton to square up to the next guy when he's back, then.
Well, we've got Salford, haven't we? And Salford can't fucking keep 12 men on the pitch, so...
Well, there you go. There's hope, yeah. So, also on Sunday night, it was Leeds 26, Warrington 27. It was 18-12 to Leeds at half-time. Yet again, can't hold on to a half-time lead. Chris Kendall was the man in charge. Narrow margins in the stats, obviously on the scoreline as well, but ultimately won by wire. Slightly more ground made, a slightly better average gain, a couple more clean breaks, and a better tackle success rate. For Warrington, Darrell